I'd like you all to close your eyes. Perfect. It'd be so much easier to deliver my talk today without you all looking at me. The real reason I've asked you to close your eyes, so if you can keep your eyes closed, is because I'd like to transport you back to the 23rd of March 2020, the day we went into our first lockdown. Ready? Transportation process commencing now. Good evening. The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades. Tonight, I want to update you on the latest steps we are taking to fight the disease and what you can do to help. You must stay at home and only leave your home for the following very limited purposes. Shopping for basic necessities as infrequently as possible. One form of exercise a day, alone or with members of your household. For any medical need to provide care for a vulnerable person. And to travel to and from work, but only when absolutely necessary. While you still have your eyes closed, I want you all to think back to how you felt at that very moment. That moment we went into our first lockdown. Scared? Nervous? Stressed? These are the common responses I receive when I ask this question. And I'm sure many of you may have felt one or more of these emotions too. Thank you. You can now open your eyes. Hopefully I've not sent anybody to sleep. The pandemic taught us many lessons, many of which relate to health. According to the World Health Organization, health is a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. We learnt many lessons, and those lessons related to our physical health, our mental health, and our social health. Prior to the pandemic, we were in a health crisis with obesity, mental health illnesses, and loneliness being at an all-time high. The pandemic was the biggest wake-up call our generation has ever faced, waking us up to the fact that we need to prioritise all areas of health and well-being far more. Another question I often ask people during the pandemic was, what will you do differently when we return to some form of normality? The common responses were, I'll exercise more. I'll eat healthier. I'll spend more time with my loved ones. I'll do more of the things I enjoy. I'll speak to my neighbours more. I'll become more aware of those that are feeling lonely. And generally, I'll be more grateful for all that I have. However, as we return to some form of normality, I want you all to be truly honest with yourselves and answer this. Have you made those changes? Have you truly woken up to your wake-up call? When I look around me, it seems like so many people have continued to live their lives just as they were prior to the pandemic. If anything, we're heading towards an even bigger health crisis. So why is this? Why are so many of us failing to truly wake up? I want to start by defining what a wake-up call is and what it is not. A wake-up call is an event that alerts us to make a positive change in our lives. What it is not is actually the change itself. Simply put, a wake-up call is an opportunity to change. Waking up to your wake-up call and taking no action is like hearing your alarm go off in the morning, pressing the snooze button and going back to sleep. And I'm sure many of us have done that at some point. Truly waking up to your wake-up call is like hearing your alarm go off in the morning, jumping out of bed and living your day to the fullest. If we are to look at a wake-up call as an opportunity, then the real question I'll be answering today is, why do some of us grasp hold of opportunities, whilst others watch opportunities pass us by, or don't even notice an opportunity at all? I believe the answer relates back to health. At this point you may be thinking, what on earth does health have to do with opportunity? Well, let me start by explaining what it takes to truly grasp hold of an opportunity. First, you need to spot that opportunity in the first place, which requires high levels of self-belief. Once you've spotted the opportunity, you need to believe that you are worthy of that opportunity, which requires a positive mindset. Next, you need to take action, which requires hard work and lots of energy. Finally, to truly maximize any opportunity in life, you need to bring others on board to support you. So to break this down, you need to be mentally healthy in order to have a positive mindset and lots of self-belief. You need to be physically healthy in order to have lots of energy. And you need to be socially healthy in order to have the confidence and communication skills required to bring others on board to support you. I myself have had many wake-up calls in my life, but I have to admit, on many of those occasions I have failed to truly wake up. I didn't have a great childhood. My father was an alcoholic, and I regularly witnessed domestic violence. This was my first ever wake-up call, waking me up to the dangers of alcohol abuse. As a child, I made a promise to myself that I'd never drink alcohol myself. But in my teenage years, I too began drinking, and it quickly became my go-to medication to help me deal with all that was happening at home. I failed to truly wake up. My father was unable to overcome his addiction to alcohol, and eventually it took his life. Come to think of it, he was a similar age to what I am now. Did this wake me up to the dangers of alcohol abuse? Yes, but I pressed the snooze button and continued to drink anyway. My latest wake-up call came 5 years ago, when I received a call from my eldest sister telling me that she had an autoimmune disease. She told me it wasn't life-threatening, but she would need to make major changes to her life. Her exact words were, "It's been a wake-up call." My coping mechanism to deal with my childhood was alcohol. My sister's coping mechanism was work, and she often worked long hours. Her illness had woken her up to the changes that she wanted to make in her life, which included spending more time with her loved ones and doing more of the things that she enjoyed, which included travelling. Sadly, my sister was unable to make those changes. Her condition worsened, and a few weeks later, she passed away. She wasn't given the opportunity to change. Losing my sister turned my life upside down. And I did what I always did when faced with adversity. I turned to alcohol. I blocked loved ones out of my life, and I fell into a dark hole. However, my sister's final words did not leave me, and I wanted to ensure that I could do everything I could do in my possibility to help others wake up from their wake-up call. But before I did that, I knew I had to become a better version of myself. A nurse that worked at the hospital where my sister was admitted advised I get into running. I took her advice and began to run. This really helped me physically and mentally. The pain of losing my sister didn't disappear, but I was able to cope with it far better. I also began counselling, and the counsellor advised that I read a book on how to deal with the loss of a sibling. This really helped me understand why I was blocking people out of my life and my emotions. I continued to read, often self-development books, which really helped me understand my mind. For the very first time, I actually began to believe in myself. I let go of my past. I even forgave my father. But most importantly, I forgave myself for not being able to protect my mum as a child. In an attempt to develop my speaking skills, I joined a speaking club. I was a bit sceptical as to whether it would help, but thought I needed to give it a go anyway. Within a period of 12 months, I went from somebody that found it difficult speaking to people even one-to-one, to actually speaking on stage, and reaching the finals of a speaking competition with a speech dedicated to my sister. Without realising it, I'd created a new routine into my life, where I was working on all areas of health at the same time. Physically, I was running 3 times a week. Mentally, I was reading 10 pages of a self-development book every single night. And socially, I was attending a speaking club twice a month. I became the healthiest I'd ever been in all areas of life. I was ready to truly wake up from my wake-up call. I stopped drinking alcohol altogether, and I created a social enterprise that helps young people from difficult backgrounds develop all areas of their health. This brings me back to the pandemic and why I feel so many of us have failed to truly wake up. If we are to maximise this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change, we first need to change the way we view health and well-being. More focus needs to be given to all areas of health, and they must be viewed as equally as important. I imagine a world with a new generation of fitness centres. A place with not only weights, exercise machines and personal trainers, but also a library of self-development books and mental health coaches. A place where you can not only practice your social skills, but you're actually taught social skills too. I imagine a world where we are all the healthiest we have ever been. Let's not let this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity pass us by. It all begins by developing our physical, mental, and social health. Only then will we all be empowered to truly wake up from our wake-up call.